Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's product update webinar with Client. I'll let a couple of people get in and then we'll start in a couple of seconds if that's okay. All right. I see we still have people coming. First webinar of the year.
Yes.
All right. Let's get started. So welcome to today's January webinar. Today we'll be talking about version 49.14.2, which is our latest version. My name is Rosalie and I'm a customer success manager at Client. And I will be your host. We also have, as always, Yanick, our CEO. Hi, Yanick.
Bonjour, Rosalie. Hi, everyone. Once again, our team has been working very hard to bring a ton of value to our customers. So we have another feature-packed webinar today. So exciting, Rosalie.
And we also have Natalie, our project advisor / change advisor, wearing many hats at Client, and she'll be answering your questions in the Q&A and in the chat. Let's go to the next slide. Perfect. Okay, so these webinars go very well if you do the 3 following things. Make sure you participate to our polls. We have a couple, takes a few seconds, and it helps us know what you're thinking. Make sure to use the react button as well. We have the little screenshot if you don't know where to find it. And then you can use the chat in the Q&A to ask questions. This is where Natalie will be able to answer you. So let's get you to participate to our very first poll, which I'm launching right now. We just want to know, is this your first Client webinar? Yes. No, I'm a regular. No, I've been to a couple. And it's always great to see. I think every time we always have people that answer yes, well, half the people. So that's great. We always have new faces joining us, and hopefully we keep doing great webinars. So there's more and more people that want to join us.
Every time, yes.
We have a lot of newbies. I think it's probably part of some people's new resolution for 2025 to be joining Client webinar every month. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. All right. Yeah, it was about half people are first timers. That's great. All right, so what's on the agenda for today? So we're going to be talking about new features and improvements that were released in version 49.14.2 and before that. We're going to look at the product roadmap for version 50. Yes, we're already at version 50. That's going to be released in early February. And we're also going to talk, we're going to share some exciting news about a new e-learning initiative that we have. So stay tuned for that at the end of the webinar. Let's dive right into it, shall we? So in terms of new functionality, we have 5 of them today. And as you may notice, there's a recurring theme. It's all about the resource planner. So let's start with our very first one, which is align schedule with logged hours. Yanick, before you show us how that works, can you tell me why someone would want to align their schedule with logged hours?
Yeah, absolutely. And you might burn a few brain calories on this one. It's not the easiest one to demo, and I wanted to be everybody to be attentive for that first demo. And I'll try to make it simple so we can look at the details. The concept is in Client. You have several fields or several ways that you can that we address effort associated to a task. So first, on a task, you have the estimation of hours. As we can see here, we have on that specific build task, we have 120 hours of estimation, meaning that we think that it's going to take the team to deliver this 120 hours. Then we have another concept where it's scheduling hours. In this case, you can see as well that we have 120 schedule hours, meaning that there's only Roxanne is signed here on this task. So she has 100 hours of scheduled to work on this. I've put also the variance between one minus the other, so we can see that there's 0 variance. And the other interesting field is the number of hours that you've logged. So all this is to capture the effort. And we allow as well for over-scheduling and under-scheduling, which sometimes brings some misalignment and some variance in between. So this is what that feature is going to be addressing. So let me show you what it means by looking at the global, the project resource planner for that specific project. Let me just realign a little bit my dates and show you the task underneath. So as you can see here in that build task, we have 120 hours, so 3 blocks of 40 hours for that specific task. And if I show the actual hours log, we can see that last week, 5 hours have been logged on that task, while the scheduling was 40. Meaning that there's 35 hours that were not worked on. And this happened all the time, right? You ask somebody to do something, other emergency comes, I've pushed back, but this creates a delta of 35 hours. Same thing for this week. Roxanne told us as well that she's not working on this tomorrow either. So there's 30 hours that's going to be remaining. So total 65 hours are going to be, needs to still be rescheduled. Usually what you would do is that, for example, if you're in the resource planner like this, you would come in here and you would reschedule 65 hours on top, and then it's going to add at the end. So you can see that those 65 hours have been added in the week after. The problem now, if you do the maths, is that we're over scheduled. So if I'm coming back here and I'm refreshing my page, I can see that we are now over scheduled by 65 hours. Okay, so it could be fine because you might be measuring if your resource really doing what you expect them to do, so a schedule versus log. But let's say you did that maths and you did log it, and maybe you use one of our snapshot item to capture that information and that variance. At that point, though, having over schedule sometimes cause problem for a project manager because it doesn't know really how many hours still need to be scheduled to work on it. So this is where the feature come into play. So let me go back here. And by opening the task panel for that specific task and going to the schedule tab, we have that button here that's going to do that alignment. And the dates that are showing are the start date of that assignment till the end date of that specific assignment we've created. Now what I want to reset, I just want to reset up to tomorrow because we said that there's, oops, this is not tomorrow. Go back to January, so up to tomorrow. So we're going to clear and align the logged hours with the scheduled hours for this range here. And by doing this, there's a warning, meaning that the schedule is going to be changed accordingly. So by doing this, what it does, if I'm coming back here, I'm going to see now that the schedule is now 5 for that specific week because I've logged 5 hours. And this last week or this week, it's 10 hours of schedule versus 10. And then we now have, because I've added my 65 before, if I'm coming back in here, refreshing, you can now see that my variance has been eliminated. So I'm back to a proper estimated and a schedule hour. So this is one use case. Sometimes though, you just want to okay, I'm going to clear the pass and then I'm going to see what's remaining and I'm going to do some kind of scheduling later on. So you can do the same thing, but now it's available throughout our right side panel. So now if I'm staying here in the workspace, I'm going to the schedule tab. What I can do now is that I can repress that button and instead of changing my end date, I'm going to leave it this way and I'm going to save by the warning. And now what's happening is that I'm going to be under schedule because now it only aligned with my logged hour. So now you can see that I have still 105 hours remaining to be scheduled in the future, which could be something that your team want to do because now they really want to know and they can come in here and now start scheduling their hours directly here. So that's a concept here of that aligning schedule versus with log. At this point, we're just flushing the hours aligning, and we're not doing anything with the remaining hours. In a future version, we're going to prompt you other question. What do you want to do with the 105 or the number I've said before, 115 hours? Do you want to schedule it at the end? Do you want to apply another scheduling pattern? Do you want to just clear it and leave it so I can manually schedule it? So those options are going to come in a future release, but at least now you can align so you can have a fresh baseline of your schedule and having a clearer view in terms of your scheduling versus your estimation. Does it make sense, Rosalie? Clearer?
Yeah, it does make sense. And I think just to mention, and I'm going to launch a quick poll just to support what I'm about to say, but this functionality is really useful if you're doing two things. So you need to be scheduling your resources, and then you also need to be logging time. Unless you're doing those two things, then you can't really use that feature. But these two things are definitely best practices. So if you're already scheduling your resource, you're already logging your time, You should also make sure that those columns here, the estimated hours, scheduled hours, estimate versus schedule, and total hours, you should definitely have a preset that you're using that shows those columns if you're going to be using that functionality. I think that's key. Yeah, as Yanick mentioned, we have some more work coming on, but I think the demonstration was pretty clear to me at least. So yeah, for the poll, we were just curious to check because we're working on that functionality. So we want to see if people are actually scheduling their resources, which most people seem to be doing it. So that's great news. And then if people are logging their time, which people also seem to be doing. If you're not, then you can definitely start doing that and then use that functionality. All right.
Good. So this is the align. Let me switch back to the deck. So this was the align with schedule logged hours. And if we're moving to the next feature, now we're going to talk about grouping. So in the previous webinar, we said we were able to group some resources. The only place you were able to, not resource, some schedule. The only place we were able to group was from the planner itself. Now, everywhere in the system, you're gonna anytime you're creating a project assignment schedule or a task assignment schedule, they're gonna be grouped together. So I'm gonna showcase this functionality now. So to do that, I'm gonna just create a brand new task here. I'm gonna create a great emoji. Now you can add emoji. So it's gonna be a train task that we're gonna do. It's for 40 hours. I'm gonna come and I'm gonna assign again just our friend Roxanne to keep this
She's so
project.
popular.
Yeah, to keep that project going. And I'm just gonna readjust a little bit the timing of that specific task I've created. I'm going to spread it across a few days, and I'm going to link it after the deploy to train the team. Okay, so now I'm set up with a new task that's been scheduled to Roxanne. So if I come back to my project plan here, and let me just maybe widen my range a little bit so I can see the hours that have been assigned to Roxanne. So we can see that those 40 hours have been assigned here. And by the color coding, you can see that they've been grouped together. So this one is all purple, so they all been grouped together. We have that other one here that is teal or light green. So this is the kind of grouping that are created. So I've created from the Gantt. I could have created from the task panel, or if there's other mean that you're creating those assignments, they're going to be grouped together. And let's say I'm adding another block in here, maybe for another 12 hours of training. You will see that this is going to be a separate block, and it's going to be, whoops, I didn't spread it enough. So let me just recreate on 3 weeks. Let me put 40 hours up. And I'll change the other one. So now you're going to see that it's going to be group. This one is not group because it's in the same week. So there's that concept is not done. But as soon as you put it on several cell, it's going to show you that grouping. So they're group, meaning that they're going to be, as we will see in the next feature, you're going to be able to move them separately. And this way, it also helps you streamline your rescheduling, so you don't have to move one block at a time or change one block at a time. So that grouping is going to really help in terms of scheduling, even more so when it's a schedule that's not just spread across or distributed evenly. When you're creating your own schedule of that there's some break in between your work on the same task, those grouping helps a lot for your team. This is the grouping part. This works as well on the project assignment schedule.
Perfect. And then I think the next one is the right click. Yeah, right click in Resource Planner.
Resource planner.
So, yeah.
No, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So if you like to get things done quickly, you're going to love this new feature. I know we've talked about right click in the workspace a couple of times. So we figured we'll just add that functionality to the resource planner too. Yanick, I know you're a pro at getting things done quickly with your shortcut and everything. So why don't you do a little demonstration on that right click functionality?
Yeah, streamlining and making sure that we can do everything in one place, so you don't have to go in several interface to do stuff. So again, that right click is very helpful. So we brought a few features. So first, if I'm right click here in this one is not grouped like we're saying, so you can easily now move and delete some of those blocks. Let's say, I'm clicking on a group now, I'm going to have more functionality associated. So maybe I want to move that And instead of drag and drop it like I was doing it before, I can just pick a date. And let's say I'm going to do it the beginning of, maybe we change it a bit more, the end of the March 17, and clicking move. So that block now is going to be moving March 17. So the entire group is moving with it. So that's the move. So again, because drag and drop it, let's say you want to drag and drop it and you don't see it here, instead of changing the number of column you see, because I could have done the same thing just by drag and dropping that block, for example. Now it's going to be, it's going to move 2 blocks within that week, or it would have, because it's possible to work that 40 hour in a single week. Now that right click move is going to help as well. The other functionality that we can see is that we have ungroup and delete group. So delete group, it does what it does. What it says is going to remove the entire group that we have in here. And unless, let's say I just want to delete one specific block, I did it before, but maybe I could ungroup. So now it's going to be, this block is going to be separated, and I can just delete that specific block if I wanted to. Even in a specific grouping, you can delete that specific block too. So those are the kind of functionality that you can do now with the right click menu. And now I've deleted everything. So let me maybe just create another one for the other functionality. So as in many software, we use as well a keyboard shortcuts. So you can do control and selecting several group together or several block together, and then you can group them. So the control key is also enabled in here. So you can select multiple separate groups, separate blocks, and group them together. So after that, you can, when they're going to be moved, they're going to respect that gap in between the grouping.
Yeah,
Sense?
I think that was actually our second, the moving multiple, that was our second thing, right? Perfect, that's covered.
Yeah, no, actually, it's another one. You're going to see it. So because now you can also
Oh, is it?
move control with another on the other slide. I see. Let me know if there's any question you want me to answer. I'll be
No,
pleased
I
to.
think we're seeing a lot of people that have feedback and like, oh, would be great to do this and that, but it's all going straight to hosts and panelists. So I don't think everybody else is seeing those,
Perfect.
but keep them coming.
Awesome. Okay, so now the one that you're talking about is this one. So it's moving multiple blocks at the same time. But the key trick is now what I was doing is I was moving on a single line. Okay, but now what we also did is that you can do control, select, but you can also select across different tasks, and then you can move several of them. And remember that we still have some tweaking to do in terms of the UI. The first block is the one that's going to be, even if it's not showing, this one is where you drop it. The rest is going to respect that scheduling. But you saw that my 2 lines got changed because I did, again, that control and selected multiple across multiple lines. So again, to facilitate that, the usability of that resource planner, you're going to be able to do those kind of changes and movement across the board.
Yeah,
So
and I
that's
know right now you're looking just at one project, but I can see how if you're looking at the resource planner for all projects, you can have way more lines. So
yeah, and this work with project assignment and task assignment. We recommend using task assignment because at the end it's a bit more granular. The task again could be very simple as a build, deploy, train, but if you want to go very granular, all those functionality also work. This is going to be helping a lot of our customers.
perfect. I think we're getting to our very last feature, and then we'll move into improvement. So
And the improvements are also featured in my mind, but like the
no,
biggest one, the resource planner,
or the
is just that
resource
we're doing
planner
so much.
section.
Yeah, exactly.
So
We're doing so many.
yeah, we actually added a new filter in the resource planner to get visibility on the schedule utilization. Before we dive into it, I just wanted to do a quick poll. I'm just really curious. We often talked about the filters and presets in the workspace, but we're curious to know if you're actually using the filters and presets in the resource planner, because that's what we're going to talk about now. So you can take a few seconds, but Yanick, you can already get started and show us what that looks like. And I'll let people answer a little bit.
Let me go back to my demo environment. And now I'm going to open up the global resource planner to show you that filtering. So what we have now is I have a certain preset. I'm showing it only a few resources. Just to give you like a certain context, you can see that my coloring code is between 80% of utilization and 100% is going to be in green. Less than 80% utilization is going to be in yellow, and red over 100%. So meaning that all the yellow one is the one that I need to address. So we don't have assigned enough task or work in the upcoming week or this week for those specific resource. I'm only showing 4 resources, with one placeholder here, but let's say you have a very long list. Filtering is becoming key. So we have that filter panel here that's showing up, and this is the newest addition to that filtering. And then you have those comparator. It's not a word, right? It's those filtering that's going to tell you which one what you want to do. So for example, in my case, I want to show all the resources that have less than 80% utilization. So by applying that filter, now you can see that the line that was all over 80% has been removed, and only the one that I need to address in terms of the workload are now showing. So I could do the exact opposite and having a greater than. So the operator, this is the word I was looking for, my operator. So now, what did I didn't put
I don't think you put the percentage.
Yeah. But maybe we'll put the percentage there, greater than 80%. Now only Amelia is showing because she has more than 80% across her workload. If you want to reset it, you just have to do a select, and then it's gonna go back to cleaning up that filter. So hopefully this is gonna help in terms of really putting in front of your project manager or your resource manager who needs to be scheduled, or which one of your resource need a bit more work in the upcoming weeks. And that filtering take into account the column we're showing. So if you were showing more than 6 column, it's going to be applied on that range that we're looking at.
Yeah,
So
and then
go ahead.
yeah, I was just gonna say, based on the poll, I know some people may just use filters. I think most people use just filter, maybe not presets yet, but this is the type of view, like if you like this filter, then save it as a preset.
Yeah, exactly. So for example, even my range, for example, I have my range 80 to 100. So this is also saved in my preset. So everything is being saved within. So this one, you can see it's 85 to 100. And that filtering is going to also be saved. So yeah, again, it comes to improving the filtering. We know we have other backlog items in terms of putting more criteria and having other like logic operator and then or kind of filtering. So those are coming in the future release too. But this is the first one that's being rolled out in terms of utilization. So hopefully it's going to help. And this came from ideas from our customers. So again, we're delivering on what you guys required.
But we're super open to feedback. So if you have any any other feedback, we want to hear it. All right. I think that was our last feature, and I'm just gonna do the poll we always do because we're doing internal bets internally to see which one we think are gonna be more popular. But we just want to know which functionality you're most excited about from all the ones that we mentioned, and then if you already upgraded to our latest version. So I'll leave that poll open. And then we'll transition to our improvements and fixes. I think in this release, there is actually sometimes the improvements and fixes are kind of hidden in between the release notes, but we want to highlight them today because there are some great ones, especially in the workspace. Okay.
And like I was saying before, some of them should be labeled as a new feature because there is a lot of functionality and ease of use that's being added. And again, it's all about efficiency, making it easy for you to be able to work with our platform. And we're going to be looking at all those that have a star here. And you can always refer back to the release note or that deck if you want to know a bit more about what has been added. So let me go and do the first one. So the first one, I'm gonna come back to my project, my resource plan here, or my project plan with my workspace, my project workspace. And it's about the right-click menu on the header and adding fields. So before, or when I'm gonna add a field now, you're gonna see it's gonna show on the right side of where I clicked. Before, it was always showing up completely on the right. So you had to scroll a bit more to get there. So let me add a few fields. So I'm going to add the start date. I'm going to add the description. And just by doing this, now it's on the right side of where I click that is going to be shown. So I don't have to go back on the right completely and then move my column back or where I want it to be clicked. So it's all about making sure that the information you require or request, they're showing up exactly where you want them to show. And again, because this has changed my preset, I could save my preset. You can see that some change has been applied with that red icon or red star here on the right side. So this should also help in terms of making sure that you're seeing the task and limiting the number of click and moving around in that workspace. So this
Yeah,
one
and if
is
I can
simple. Yeah.
If I can add something, because I always miss it, so maybe we can point it out to customer. When you're actually right-clicking, you can like uncheck and check certain column headers, but you also have always on the top, you can hide that specific column. So sometimes I forget, and I have to go back and try to find the name of the column in my whole list, but you always have this shortcut at the top to just hide it. So little tip there while we're on it.
Absolutely. And then, yeah, absolutely. So the hide is always there, and then you can select whatever you want. And right-clicking, the feature is putting it on the right side.
Yay.
Okay, the next one, if we're moving along, we brought back the hovering on the timeline side. So on the left side is our grid, the right is the timeline. Together, it creates a Gantt, but that hovering is also bringing that list of start date and date and the status. So this way, it's a bit easier when you're looking on the timeline side. And it makes everything simpler, even more so when you are in that timeline view and you don't see the grid anymore. So before, and this is also linked to the next feature we're going to do. So we've re-implemented again the right-click menu. So now on the timeline, before we didn't have any right-click menu on the timeline. Now we do have that same list that we had on the grid. So you can do some work right from here, including inserting task above or below the way you want. And then you can play around and move your task around directly from the timeline. By double clicking as well on a task, it's going to bring the task panel. So if you want to change the name or change some of that setup of that specific task, you're going to be able to do it right from here as well. And as you can see, the menu, you have add tasks, you can assign people right from here, you can move them if you have to move them in the project itself. And updating statuses, including the delete task. And if you want to see what else we can do, we have that keyboard shortcut when you're working with the grid that's also available from that right-click menu. Okay, so let me delete back maybe that specific task with that right-click menu. And now we can move to the next one. And the next one, it's about statuses. So again, here you can see the percentages and you can move that percentage around with that handler. But if you want to see the status right from here too, so you can just, we have toggles that allow you to switch and show you that timeline statuses across your different tasks. So this should be helpful in terms of what you can do with the right-click menu within the platform. I'm gonna go back to my grant view. So far, so good, Rosalie? No question?
Yeah. I think the timeline is maybe one that people are not looking at as often. So it's nice we focus on it a little bit.
Yeah, and one of the main reasons was that too, because you could do, when you wanted to add a task or move things around, you were not able to do it from the timeline view only. Now you can do it. And I think you're going to mention it, but now we're bringing the future release some zoom in, zoom out on the timeline too. So it's going to be very helpful.
Workable.
Okay, the next one, it's another toggle that we've moved around. It was in the filter now before, but now we've brought it back into as a toggle in the project workspace. So it's the milestone view. So you can see here that I have my milestone signature and go live only to milestone. So the difference between a task where you have to work and a milestone. A milestone is a specific date and time. When it's pink diamond, it means it's just a date. When there's a black, you can have a black milestone as well. It means that there's some amount associated to it. There's no amount in here, but when it's black, it means an amount. So those are very useful. They're also very useful to show progress or show specific date, either during the sell cycle or when you're looking at a project. And to remove the noise and only focus on those milestones, we have that toggle here that you can just filter out easily and only see your milestone. So now it's a very simple project I have with only a few tasks, but when you have a project with 100 lines, just being able to within a single click see when is my go live schedule, so I don't have to search. Even if now we have some cool search functionality, being able to filter out or like toggling those information with a single click helps a lot. So we have that toggle that's been added in our menu, and we've reordered as well the menu on our toggle site. I think Rosalie, it's not a new feature, but I think you wanted to meet as well to showcase that we can do like multiple tasks and move multiple tasks. So again, with the control click, now I'm gonna mess up my project, but I can realign some tasks just by selecting multiple tasks and moving them along. So this is also very useful when you just want to do a kind of a translation of your project and not just changing what dates across the board. So you can, again, with the clicking and do control, you can select multiple tasks and you can move them around by doing so. So the tasks you're going to select are going to be moving depending on that selection.
Yeah, and if you've already set up dependencies, then you really just need to move that first task. But I know sometimes when you're creating your project and you have all the tasks on the same date, you don't need to manually go in the pick list for each one and change it. It's much faster just to select and drag.
Exactly. And in this specific case, you see, I purposely didn't create that linkage between my start and build because I want them to be separate. But when you have those linkages, they're going to follow. But when you don't, then you can do control, select, and move. So this has been there for a while, but yeah, people don't always know. Okay. Next improvement on that workspace. So we have that description column. We have other fields, text fields. So let's say we have a next step. So as you know, all those columns you can change, right? I've created a task before. The next step, I can just come in here and put some text. But when you have a rich text field where you can put images, you can just double click on those. And now we've made that UI a lot bigger, so it's easier to see more context. I was a bit too zoomed in, I zoomed out now, but now you can see that, and this make it very easy to just come in here and take your notes. We're coming with the autosave functionality as well soon. From here, you can hit the control save and it's going to control S and it's going to save. Otherwise, you have those save button and cancel button. But by just double clicking on those rich text area fields, so not only just the description, let's say you've added some other fields, by double clicking on it, it's going to bring that interface and it's a lot bigger than it was before. So it's easier to see the full description of that setup. The difference is this is a rich text area, so you can paste images, you can put bolds and bullets, while other field like the next step, this one is just a pure text field. So this one you can just edit it straight from the grid. We're coming with a wrap. I think I'm stealing all your punch, Rosalie, on the roadmap, but there's going to be, for longer field, we're going to have a wrap feature as well that's coming. For now, yeah, for now you have to make that column a bit wider when you have too much text that you want to show. Okay, another one that's an improvement in terms of the look and feel, and it does help to really know what's happening. So we have, let's say you have the billable column you want to show and the milestone column you want to show. So I've added both of them, and now before it was a true false, you would see true and false as word. Now we've brought just the fact that it's a checkbox like it should be. So let's say that train platform train task, it's non-billable. I can just come in here and mark it as not billable. So any checkbox item are now represented with checkbox. So it does, again, for visibility, ease of use, and you don't need to go inside and put the text true false. So it's very simple, but with the number of arts and clap I just saw as emojis, I'm guessing this was wanted by a lot of customer. And so we added that for all the checkbox field, including your custom checkbox that you might have put on a task. They're going to be showing as a checkbox now.
I know that was one of my favorite ones. It was hidden somewhere in our release notes, but I was like, oh, this is game changer. I'm using this the day we can access it.
Before you had to do a true and false, and with the keyboard it wasn't that bad, but now you can do it. And it does with the keyboard shortcut. If you do the space bar, this is how we're going to trigger between check and uncheck. So you can move around and just use the space bar to mark those tasks easily. Okay, the next one, it's not as much as in the grid, but depending on how you've been using our filters, sometimes you create complex filters, and sometimes you just want a variation of that complex filter. Before you had to restart from scratch and creating a brand new filter and try to do the same logic that you had and the operator and redo. And sometimes there's 6 because you can do conditional logic as well in our filter. So sometimes it becomes very long. I don't know if I have a longer filter that I can edit, for example. This one is just 1 and 2, but sometimes I have a list of 8 filters. So instead of redoing them all, now we have a save as. So it's just going to take that specific filtering, and then you're going to be able to save as. You just have to enter a name, and it's going to create a copy of that filter that you have built. So again, to simplify your life and make everything faster in the system, we have that save as that's been added on our filtering list.
Yeah.
2 more improvements that are not related to the workspace. Here under global actions and the global layout, you can now drop a new one that's called new project. If you recall from a previous webinar, we've shown you in, I think, 30 seconds how you could add that client preload to really speed up the first time load of the day. You can now do the same thing. So you just have it go in setup and in your global layout and global action and drop that new project. So now that new project, what it does, it just show our new project, new project page, which includes our project import wizard. So from that global workspace, from that button here with all the global actions. So within a single click, you can create a brand new project. Before you had to go in client project and do new, which is going to do exactly the same thing. But now wherever you are in the system, you can just press in here and it's going to open up that new project window. So it's going to be easier to create project. And please start using our import wizard. And we also, as you know, we have templates that we're providing through our marketplace, and we're going to be bonifying that list in the very near future. So this is a simple improvement, but again, speed, speed, speed. And the last one, I don't think I'm gonna have time to show it, but we have the QuickBook grouping. So before, when you're generating an invoice and sending it with our bridge that's included in the package, sending it to QuickBook, every line item would follow through. In Xero connector, we have another connector included in Xero that you can group in Sage and Tech as well. You could group and define the grouping that should be sent to QuickBook and not each individual line of time comments. So we've added those for QuickBooks as well. So if you don't want all the individual line, but you just want a 1 line per task or 1 line per project or 1 line per resource, this can now be sent to QuickBook. The reason is that you might be generating your invoice in QuickBook and not with our PDF for whatever reason. So you might be doing it. So now you can group it. This being said, all the information remains and you can rely on the data in client. So it's just a representation. The data is still intact with all the different line, but for the generation purposes, you can group it. So I don't showcase that feature, but it was worth mentioning.
And in terms of improvement and fixes, like we've talked about a couple of them, but essentially after the webinar, we're sending the deck, and then you can have the direct links to all the fixes and improvements. So you can read more about all the ones we didn't talk about. The star ones are the one we mentioned, and then the other ones are also important, but we didn't showcase them today.
Such as, for example, all the project status and the fixes, you can edit now the send email, you can edit the title. So there's been a few quick and good fixes as well in this specific release. That's it.
Perfect. Yeah, I think we're going to move to the roadmap. And since we already kind of talked about a couple of them, should go super fast. So as always, just a reminder, you can always access our roadmap from the community. So if you log in, you have the roadmap tab, and then you can see our latest up-to-date roadmap of what the product team is working on. So that's what I'll just cover quickly, but then you can have a look later and we'll talk about it on the next webinar anyways. So our next version is version 50, should be released early February, so in 2 weeks or so. Essentially what we're going to be doing in that version, so we're going to have column filters in the workspace. Yay. I think we've teased that one a couple of times. My work, so we talked about my work 2 webinars ago or 1 webinar ago. It's going to be rebranded to my deadlines. And since it was like a new page that we released, we're just making improvements in the next version. So among those, you're going to have column sorting, sorting icon, project redirect, a couple of different things, which is all based on the feedback we got from customers that already tested out my work / my deadline. So keep sharing your feedback. But we're making improvements there. Preset sharing in global workspace as well. When we release preset sharing in project workspace, a lot of customers ask, yeah, it's great. We want it on global too. So it's going to be available. And then beyond February, a couple of fun things that are coming up. I think you mentioned it, Yanick, wrapping columns, zoom in and out in timeline. And this has been waited on for so long, copy pasting tasks. That one is going to be game changer. Can't wait to test it out, but that's coming. Editable global workspace as well. Right now in the global workspace, you have to click in a project workspace to then make edits, but you're going to be able to do all that from the global workspace. We're going to have some timesheet improvements as well in the UI and UX. We're going to add filters and presets as well to my work / my deadlines. We're going to do some color adjustments in the research planner as well.
For me, it's that one, zoom in, zoom out. I love
did
this
mention
one.
it.
Because when you have like a 2 years project, 3-year project, this is going to be very, very useful. So we're working on it. There's like subtlety about it, but this zoom in, zoom out is coming out very soon as well.
Yeah. And a couple of more that you can see in the list. You can have a look later. And then again, before our next webinar, we're going to update that list. So yeah, I'm curious to know, actually, I'll just do a final poll and we'll move on to the next section. We just want to know which upcoming feature you're most excited about. So I'll leave it on the side and then move on with the next section, if that's okay.
Next one.
Yeah, there's always
Exciting
so
as
much
well.
we're working on. So yeah, at the beginning of the webinar, we mentioned that we were working on some exciting e-learning initiatives. So to be more specific, we are planning to launch this initiative in early February. So that's very soon. And then as part of that initial launch, we should have 10 courses that you can see on the screen now. And Yanick, maybe you can give us some more insights into that.
Yeah, part of why we're doing this initiative of the product webinar while we're writing content, while you, Rosalie, Isabelle, and our customer success team try to talk to us as often as possible to our customer to showcase new functionality. It's all about knowing they exist, but also knowing how to use them. So our consulting team and our change management team, led by Natalie and the rest of the group, is doing a tremendous job. But quite often during implementation, we train champions, so we don't train the entire company. So that's the concept here. It's to really bring to par the knowledge of everyone in the business, new customer, but also existing customer or new employee that you might hire that needs to learn clients. So we're starting with that how to use client courses. And those are the 10 first topic, creating project, using the workspace, assigning, managing, executing work with the my deadlines and my schedule. We're going to be looking at the next with that new homepage in the next webinar. So we have that list of 10 courses. If you guys like it and if you want more, we're going to create more advanced classes, but also admin classes. So we have a full list of learning class that we are going to be doing. The difference between we're doing already help articles and help text, but there were more kind of technical documentation on that specific functionality. This is more how to do it, the impact of it, and a list of best practices, use cases. And plus we have quiz, and we're going to have also some nice surprise as soon as we officially launch it. And it's going to be available to all of you for free. So there's no additional cost linked to that. So this way you can get up to speed on some of those functionality, but also send it to all of your new employees, like I said. So this way they can learn a client very rapidly.
Perfect. And what I'm going to do just before we wrap up, we're just curious to know if this is actually something you're excited about or not. So we just want to know about the e-learning and then which course you're most excited about, because we'll release all of them, but it's good for us to know, like on top of your head, looking at that list, is there one that's like catching your attention, one or more? And then the good news, I'll let you answer that, but the good news is we want to give you a sneak peek into those e-learning. So when we send the webinar follow-up email, we'll include the link to one of the courses. So it's likely going to be the logging your time. So we'll include that link. So you can already do that course if you want, but then you'll have to wait for early February to get access to all the other ones. But yeah, and in that follow-up email, just as always, we'll include as well today's webinar recording, the slide deck as well, where you can find information on how to upgrade, which is what Yanick is showing right now, the release notes and all the other useful resources. So you have links to all of that. And then as always, just a little reminder, if you have any questions or feature requests, or after today, you go and upgrade your, your account, and then you start testing out our new features and you have like feature requests, more things you want us to work on, please just email us at support@klient.com. I'll just close off the poll. Thank you for answering. And then the very last poll I just want to do is for the webinar feedback. So if you can just take a minute, 30 seconds to just let us know how we did today. And then if there's anything you want us to talk about on the webinar next, because we're essentially looking at your feedback and that's how we make every webinar better. So
it was a really feature-packed webinar. We went over
yeah,
time
we
by
talked
the
really
minutes.
Thank you so much, everyone. I don't know, Yanick, if you have anything you wanted to add before we end this webinar.
No, I've talked enough. I'll see you in a month with another list of great feature.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much, everyone. And we'll see you next month for our webinar in February.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Rosalie, Nathalie. Always a pleasure.